Hello everyone, this is Ron from HiTechLegion, and this is a part of our review of the Corsair H55 liquid CPU cooler. This is our installation tutorial video. And before you are the accessories, mounting accessories, let's just sound off so you can make sure that you have all the accessories included in the pack. You have here a AMD mounting ring and the corresponding backplate. You have the same for Intel. You have an Intel backplate and the retention ring. And you have the accessories. You have two of these type of tool-free screws for holding down the retention rings. You have one. If you notice the threads here, this one is shorter. This is for the LJ2011, since it doesn't require a backplate. But for everything else, whether you're installing AMD or Intel LJ1155, 1156, or 3066, you have to use this tool-free screw mechanism. And you also have screws for installing the 120mm fan into the radiator. Also comes with washers. And the rest of the mounting kit here with the backing adhesive. You have the metal mounting holes and the plastic locking holes for the retention rings in this pack. And also, there's a new accessory in the Asetek designed Corsair H55 is this new retention ring helper. I don't recall seeing this in the Corsair H70 older design. This is of course it helps you secure the cooler itself into the retention ring to prevent more rotation and movement when you're moving your case. So let's go ahead and install. I'm going to install both an AMD and Intel. I'm going to start with AMD and then branch off into the Intel, since the only difference between installing the AMD and Intel is essentially the backplate. So I'm going to demonstrate installing the AMD backplate first, and then we're going to move into Intel backplate, including the LJ2011 and LJ1155, 1156. Alright, as you can see, I have my AMD motherboard here, and I've taken out the backplate and the plastic retention mechanism in the front, since we are going to install the Corsair backplate and the retention ring that came with the H55, so we don't need those. We don't need a stock backplate and retention plastic in here in the front. And first step is to, of course, grab your AM3 backplate or AMD backplate, and grab the metal thread and accessory and put it through the back, as you can see there. I have done. Make sure you put it in properly. As you can see there, if you do it properly, it will be flush. So if it's protruding like that, make sure to push it in till it's all the way in. And then push it in through the back. You have the option of using adhesives to install it so it doesn't move around when you're installing. It's much more convenient, especially if you're going to install it inside the case with the motherboard inside the case. But if you're going to install it like this with a flat, you don't need the adhesive. But of course, for vertical, it can fall down, so there's adhesive provided in accessory so that you can install it. And of course, next step is to take the matching AMD retention ring here. There's the metal. And in order to install that in here, you need multiple parts. You need these plastic accessories with the corresponding locking screws. They're thumb screws, see there. And as you can see, these are two different kinds. One is fat and one is thin. And you basically thread the thin one on top. Make sure you align the proper mounting, and the fat one at the bottom. And then take the screw thread, see there, and push it through all in one layer. So layer, you have the thin one on top, you have the metal, the fat one, and then the screw on top. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you what it looks like after. Alright, so I have attached most of the three. And I've got the last one here. Let me just show you again step by step. The thin one goes on the top. Just thread it in. Make sure you don't force it. If it doesn't go in immediately, that means you're putting it wrong. Put it in wrong, as you can see there. And then the matching fat bottom. You see that it has that three-prong lock that goes facing downward, while the two pieces of thin ones, long facing one, will lock the two prongs here at the top. So just push that in. You can see that it is on the top. It has an engraving there with that tells you the LGA 1366, 2011, and 775, and rather 1155. Let me see what it says. AM2, AM3 actually it says there. So that's the last one and final step. Push it through. This is a bit like push pins, so it's a bit hard to remove when you need to uninstall it. Make sure do not force it out, since these are plastic. So once you removed it, it is kind of hard to once you've installed it, it's kind of hard to remove without doing it delicately. So make sure to do that properly. Alright, now we've set up the basics for the AM3, which is pretty much similar to the Intel. The only difference is, of course, you're going to use the Intel backplate, as you can see there. I mentioned earlier that there is no 775 support according to the box, but looking through the mounting backplate here, there is a socket 775, 1366, and 1156. So we're going to install the 1156. So make sure you put it in the appropriate mounting hole there, and then put it in the back. The LGA 2011 has its own backplate. It doesn't need a backplate. It has its own retention mechanism, so you don't need a backplate. So skip the step if you're installing an LGA 2011. So I'm going to put this now. I'm going to put an adhesive backing here and put it in the back. And I am going to now set up the retention ring, similar to how we have done the the AM3. Similarly, take the same steps. You have the fat one that goes underneath, the skinny one that goes on top, like so. And then you also have the thread itself, and then you do all four. Again, make sure to not force it, since it is plastic. Once it breaks, you are out of luck. So make sure you do this. Don't force it in. It should go in smoothly, like so. No problems at all. Do all that for 4. And you're ready to go. So I'm going to finish that. I'm going to put it in the backplate, put this on, and I'm going to skip to the next step. Alright, as you can see, I have the backplate installed. Again, the only difference between the AM3 or AMD installation and the Intel installation is the backplate type used, and of course the retention ring module. So I've done the same steps with here. Now I have it on an Intel module. Now you can rotate this, since the Intel module has different sizes in terms of socket. For Intel LG1155, you push it inwards like so, and you basically just rotate it to fit your socket size. As you can see there, for the maximum LG 1366 or LGA 2011, you put it outwards like so, and you put it inwards if you're LG 1155 or 1156. For now, we are going to install the fan and the radiator. Now, Corsair recommends that you install the fan as an intake rather than as an exhaust. So it will be, take out whatever rear fan you have in your case, position your fan so that it blows inwards as an intake, and then install the radiator using the long screws, which will connect both the fan and the radiator into your case. So I'm going to do that now. Now, Corsair recommends that you position the radiator so that the hose is positioned at the bottom instead of the top. This is for the optimal cooling capability of the Corsair H55. Of course, your installation is, depending on your discretion, you can mount it however you want, but this is how Corsair recommends it. If you don't have a case that does not if you have a case that does not have an exhaust on the top, then that is when I would recommend it that you install the fan as an exhaust instead of an intake, since heat can accumulate if you don't have an exhaust at the top. Most silent cases specifically are designed to not have any ventilation holes at the top, so if you have those type of cases, then I would recommend you just basically install it as an exhaust. Then once everything is secure, you're ready to put in the radiator. Now, rather the pump itself. Now the manual states that you have to put in the ring first and then put in the Corsair pump. Put in your thermal paste, of course, and then rotate it. You don't need the thermal paste if you're just installing it directly out of the box, but since I had to show you the bottom of the mounting plate, I had to clean it off. So make sure to add thermal paste. I'm going to do now, and make sure that my surface is thoroughly cleaned. And to clean that, can use 99% alcohol. Completely remove any residue there on the surface and the surface of your cold plate as well. Give it a little bit of time to dry. 99% alcohol will dry really fast. Then make sure everything is secured. Apply some thermal compound in the middle. Don't need much. As of course, again, if you are only installing, if you're already cleaned or reinstalling the Corsair H55, you don't need that. And now the next step, again, the manual states that you have to lock this in place into the backplate first. I don't recommend that. With the new installation that is not covered in the manual, they have the additional ring for retention. I would suggest taking that and taking your radiator, securing the ring mechanism into the place first. As you can see there. And position it however you want. Make sure it's locked in place. There's basically a latch in there. And then take the retention ring, the new one, and just place it inside until it locks. You can hear it lock. Just basically push it through. And trying to push it through. This basically holds it so that it doesn't move around. It's a lot better than the old heatsink, although I wish they had updated the manual, since most people will probably miss it. There you go. As you can see, it's not moving anymore. So all there is required is to lock this heatsink. You have to pump, lock it into the backplate. That's what I'm going to do now. Alright, as you can see, completely secured. Doesn't rotate anymore. And the only thing left to do now is to plug in our fan and our pump. These are all powered by a 3-pin connector, as you see there. You can connect it, as you can see I have fan connectors here on top. I have my CPU a CPU optional fan. I'll just connect it there, and then it is ready to go. And it's pretty much it, as you can see. Quite simple. It's a lot better than the old Asetek mounting kit, especially with the retention ring. Although I wish they have included it in the manual. A lot easier to figure out that way rather than fiddling around with it. I had to kind of do a little bit of guesswork to figure it out how to mount it. But finally, it is a lot better than the step-by-step guide that was in the manual. Again, the same steps with AMD or LG 2011 as well. The only difference between 1155 that you see here and the AM3 is the backplate, and the only difference between the 1155 here and the 2011 is the thumb screws that you use. There is a socket 775 in the backplate, although I'm not sure if it positions to a socket 775. Unfortunately, I don't have any socket 775 to confirm full compatibility. Again, the socket 775 is only in the backplate, it says there, but in the manual and in the box it doesn't mention socket 775 at all, so I cannot verify if it is fully compatible. Here we go. So I can set it up. Now I'm going to run some benchmarks and compare it with some of the other heatsinks. And again, thanks for watching. See you next time. You can read the rest of the reviews at www.HiTechLegion.com. Thumbs up this video if you like it. You want us to make more of these kind of installation guides. And there's also a link down below for the overview video and the full review. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.